With our Kentucky tags filled, Uriah and I continued to run trail cameras and monitor the farm for our friends that we knew were still trying to fill their Kentucky tags. Just one day after I was blessed to harvest R4D4, Brad Davidson headed to the creek bottom stand for what turned out to be a very memorable hunt. As Brad settled into a stand, a doe was calmly feeding below him. While the doe was feeding on native browse, a mature buck he didn't recognize moved into his location. The buck circled around Brad's location and eventually presented him with a 10-yard shot.
All right, folks, we got this old Kentucky buck out today to take a better look at him during the daylight, and he sure does have a lot of character to him, a real unique rack. He's got a crooked G2 here, split G2 on his left side, and a broken main beam on his left side. He's a deer that we're not familiar with to the Kentucky farm. He looked like a 4-year-old on the hoof whenever I saw him, so I decided to take him, and I'm glad I did. He's very unique. His rack's got a lot of character to it. And talk a little bit about the stand I was hunting that evening, the Southern Creek stand. We placed that there because there's a major creek crossing as well as a lot of doe bedding area, and that's kind of where you want to be during the rut, around doe bedding. That mature doe came in, and shortly thereafter, obviously, he came in grunting, and that's about the end of the story with him. That doe got him killed. So I'm happy to be tagged out in the bluegrass state and happy to have this buck going on the wall.
With Brad's tag filled, it was time for our friend Mark Jenkins to head down to one of our favorite spots we call the Blue Gate Stand. Prior to climbing into the stand, Mark freshened up a scrape that was near the stand with Maston's Deer Sense Full Estrus. The movement happened quickly as several deer fed around Mark's stand location. Eventually, a buck named Blacktop headed up toward the hill. The buck cruised by the stand and presented Mark with a perfect quartering away shot.
Boys and girls, I don't get shaken up very often. Boy, he came in this morning. Goodness gracious.
It was a memorable moment for Mark, his first Kentucky buck, and it once again proved to us that our hard work in Kentucky was finally paying off. Now that Mark had his Kentucky tag filled, it was time to take his girlfriend Sarah out in southern Indiana with hopes that she would be able to harvest her very first Indiana buck. Sarah and Mark were only in the stand 5 minutes when a buck came to within shooting distance of their location. After several tense moments, the buck circled their stand. Sarah was able to keep her composure and make a well-placed shot on the buck.
Matt. It's on the shoulder, but I don't think.
He's going down. He never made it across the field.
Congratulations.
Heck yeah. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right? Holy cow. Yeah, we weren't in the tree 5 minutes and he came in around us. And then I thought we were never going to find him. Holy cow. I don't even know where to get him.
With 3 bucks on the ground, Uriah and I couldn't be more happy for our friends and the success they were having as a team. Chase Muir, another one of our close friends, had developed a plan for the late firearm season that was getting ready to be put to the test as he goes after a buck named JD.
It's November 19th. It's been miserably windy this morning, and I was up in a tree stand on one of the lease properties, and it almost wasn't worth being up there. Even if a buck would have walked in, I don't know if I could have got a shot. It's so windy, shaking me back and forth in the tree. But I've got this redneck blind. So I moved over here. I got out of the tree about 11 o'clock, got over here, checked my trail cams, and sure enough, this food plot's starting to pick up in activity. And my number 1 hit list buck, JD, was just here last week. The one difference is he broke off half of his rag. But that doesn't change the scenario for me. He's still on the hit list. He's still number 1. I've got a story with that deer. That being said, we've got several hit list bucks on this property. And we might have the culprit of the one that broke JD's rag. There's a lot bigger deer in here that we've never seen before. We'll see what happens tonight. It feels good being in this redneck now. It's about 10 minutes after 4. Just had a couple doe come out of the woods up here. And a young buck come out behind him, start chasing him around a little bit. I definitely could hear something grunting back behind me. And that's the direction they all went off into the woods. I can still hear them rustling around back there munching on this food plot. He's close enough to the blind, I probably could have reached him out the window. All these deer so far have been downwind of me, but I've got this Maston's deer sense. Full estrus. And I took it and I sprayed all outside of these windows. So far, nothing's busted me yet. It's kind of risky to be in here, but I put a lot of trust in this redneck blind and this cover scent from Maston's, and so far I'm really impressed. That deer was right here next to me, calm as could be. Guys, I think I just shot JD. It's been a long time coming with this buck. I'm almost positive that's him. I got a picture of him last week with a broken rack. That deer had a broken rack. I'm on my small property here. The house isn't too far away. My brother's here. I'm gonna go get my brother. We're gonna go try and find him. I'm pretty sure I heard him crash. There's about 15 minutes left of daylight. I've got the Bobcat skid loader to load him up, and we'll make pretty quick work of it. Big buck down, baby. Big buck down. Whew, it's been a long season. Big buck down, baby. Big buck down.
Well, guys, you know, it's our job at the Whitetail Faktor to bring you guys true to life hunting, and it doesn't get any more true to life than this one. You know, after I shot him, went in, got my brother and his girlfriend, and they came out to help me recover the deer, and ran camera for me a little bit. And I was supposed to be on my way to Cincinnati for a little Thanksgiving deal there, and had to make quick work of it. So we went out and we recovered him, and here we are today, getting ready to get him all cleaned up, get him processed here. And long story with this buck. Last year, I had an encounter with him. I actually saw him 3 different times, only got footage of him one time.
It's hard to swallow that one.
And he came in about 10 yards from me, and we think he was a 3-year-old last year. And meanwhile, me and Chad put in a food plot, and we built a little redneck blind, stuck it up in this overgrown hayfield, and brushed it in real well. Had that sitting there from August and still sitting there now. We had lots of pictures of this buck back before he broke off his whole right side, basically. Then I got one picture of him last week where he had this broke off, and knew I'd be able to recognize him if he stepped out then. This is my #1 hit list buck. Got to thank the sponsors too that helped us out so much, that some of them directly influenced the way this hunt worked. You got Maston's Deer Sense, and I did not have a perfect wind to hunt this deer, but I was in a redneck blind, and I did have Maston's Deer Sense out in front of me, so I had several deer in the field that night. None of them winded me. I definitely think that's because of the estrus that I put out. Good way to end the year here. So 2016 buck tagged out.
With a pile of buck tags filled and some very special memories made during the first 2/3 of the season, it'd be hard to imagine that anything else could top what we have experienced as a group of friends in the outdoors. Little did we know there were still plenty of memories to be made on the Kentucky farm as we push into the month of January. Cold temps, hungry deer, and a well-executed habitat management plan for the farm was about to make for some of the best hunting of the season for our friends who still had dreams of harvesting a big, mature buck.